Tonight on Chat News at 5, the fallout continues. The Premier has asked some politicians who traveled over the holidays to resign and accepted the resignations of others who did. And emotional Albertans. People from across the province are openly sharing their opinions of Jason Kenney's government and not holding back.
Plus in sports, Canada and Russia face off tonight at the World Juniors with a berth in the gold medal game up for grabs.
From Medicine Hat, this is the Chat Evening News with Dan Reynish.
He chose to forego some of his hospice care options to make sure that he could die at home with my mom and not alone. And to hear folks say that they couldn't give up a family tradition of a Hawaiian vacation makes me livid. I just held a funeral on Zoom. Skipping one Christmas is the least anyone could be asked to do. Any group of people who could stand in front of my family, ask us to give up what little time we had left, and leave on vacation, in my mind, they're completely unfit to lead this province.
Good evening. There is anger, sadness, and frustration right across the province tonight. Public outrage over out-of-country travel during the holidays by at least 9 UCP MLAs and staffers has come swift and arrived fierce. Premier Jason Kenney hasn't spoken publicly about the controversy since Friday, but through a statement released on social media today, he announced that 6 MLAs have either resigned or lost their ministerial or cabinet committee roles. The Premier's chief of staff was also asked to step down, which he has done. Part of Kenney's statement today reads, quote, Albertans have every right to expect that people in positions of public trust be held to a higher standard of conduct during the COVID-19 pandemic. Millions of Albertans have made real sacrifices over the past 10 months to help keep each other safe. They are right to be angry about people in positions of leadership vacationing outside of the country. Over the weekend, Kenney continues, I have listened to Albertans who are sending a clear message that they want real consequences for these actions. By traveling abroad over the holidays, these individuals demonstrated extremely poor judgment. The entire statement can be read online at chatnewstoday.ca. As word of the resignations came out, Albertans were sharing their frustrations at a news conference arranged by the opposition NDP. One mother spoke from the Alberta Children's Hospital about how her child's December wish trip was cancelled due to the pandemic. There was a heartbreaking story about a grandfather begging to be taken from the nursing home because he was lonely, while another woman was angry her loved one had to die alone.
When I found out that his MLAs and staff were traveling all over the world, Hawaii, Mexico, and Vegas, to name a few, while my family was isolated at home, I was more than disappointed. I was enraged. I am still so angry. My grandfather passed away of COVID-19 on Christmas Eve in a care home in Winnipeg. My grandmother lives across the street from that care home, and she couldn't say goodbye. Nobody could say goodbye. My grandfather died alone because of the restrictions. Our family was heartbroken.
The NDP's Janice Irwin said the resignations today are not enough, adding they should have had the moral judgment not to have traveled in the first place. Here in Medicine Hat, residents also expressed outrage over the travel.
We have a lot of essential workers in government that were required to stay here and work through the holidays. So the fact that they have the day off, let alone the fact that they're deciding to go out of the country and not spend the money in Alberta where the hospitality industry is getting hammered, I don't have a lot of time for it.
They should probably get some of their money taken away from them. Cut back and live like us.
I think they got off way too easy. I think they're just promoting that other people travel since they're getting off so easily. I don't know, I'm just frustrated with that.
I couldn't travel to see my family, so they're supposed to be leaders of our leaders, so why should they just take the opportunity?
If they can't follow the same rules that everybody else could have to follow, why should they be in office?
Yeah. I think it's kind of ridiculous, kind of double standard that they would want to go on vacations and tell everybody else not to.
I stayed home over Christmas and I miss my grandchildren so much. And yeah, it made me really sad that I'm following the rules and people that know they need to follow the rules.
A local member of the United Conservative Party and small business owner says the actions of MLAs who traveled internationally was unacceptable. Chris Hellman says the government has imposed restrictions on businesses and individuals. For those in government to ignore their own rules is disappointing. But he adds the actions to remove the MLAs from decision-making positions is a move in the right direction.
I think there should have been probably something done last week, Thursday, Friday, when leadership got wind of this, and there wasn't, and that was a mistake on their part. And I think they pushed a lot of support away by letting it fester over the weekend and all the way to today. So I wasn't considering dropping my party membership, but I definitely wanted to see something done. And if nothing was done, who knows?
Hellman says the issue should now be left to the respective MLA's constituents to decide the member's future. Medicine Hat College political science instructor Jim Groom says this is one of the biggest scandals of Jason Kenney's tenure as premier, but despite alienating many voters, Groom says Kenney's move to not immediately discipline his caucus was a deliberate one.
He doesn't really fear the Alberta electorate. He does fear his own party. And so I think he's just going to swallow this one and say, that's learned through experience. And if somebody wants to resign, I'll take the resignation, but I'm not going to force him to do it because he needs that party loyalty.
As for how this will affect Albertans heading to the polls in 2023, Groom isn't predicting the UCP government will fall. While the anger and frustration in the province is palpable, he said the election is a long ways off.
I think it's going to be minimal impact on the next election, to tell you the truth. If the election was next week, we'd be talking maybe a little bit different. But it just isn't. And there'll be so many issues between now and then. They're going to continue to cut to wherever they can. And, there's going to be other issues that are just going to surpass this one.
Groom doesn't foresee Conservative voters turning to the NDP in 2 years, especially without a strong buffer party in between. What a day. What a beautiful day out there. A little bit windy at times, sure, maybe. What a fantastic day. I was out walking twice without a jacket on at all, and I know irresponsible. It sounds like I have a sore throat anyway, so maybe I should not have done that, but it was so beautiful I wanted to experience this day as it was. And at this hour, still 4 degrees with the wind now quite light from the south at 6 kilometers an hour. The wind expected to pick up again this morning, but as you see here on 3rd Street, it looks like it's just dirty. It doesn't look like there's winter out there at all. But it is still winter with the chance of some snow coming up this week. The AccuWeather forecast also coming up here on Chat News at 5. Straight ahead, the new chief of the Medicine Hat Police Service was sworn in this morning. Downtown business owners are frustrated and calling for more consultation from the city of Medicine Hat after a letter was sent out asking for input from the upcoming CCDA budget. The budget is expected to be voted on at tonight's council meeting. And as Tiffany Goodwin reports, business owners and CCDA members say there was not enough time given.
I think that's awful. Absolutely awful. Budget aside, it's slimy.
Downtown business owners are demanding answers after this letter was sent out by the city asking for input on the proposed CCDA budget. The letter was date-stamped December 22nd, a time many business owners were closed due to the shutdown or the holiday season. Downtown business owner Shyla Sharp says when she saw the letter, she was absolutely floored.
I opened the letter, and attached to this letter was an explanation that here's the new CCDA budget, and as a stakeholder, they would like our input, and we have till December 30th. I received the letter December 29th, and we had till noon. So let's remember that the Premier shut down all businesses. So I'm going to say 70% of downtown will never see this letter till after January 12th.
The CCDA relies on tax levies from downtown businesses for funding. Sharp says when she finally read the budget, there were a number of items of concern, including the $100,000 grant from the city that was taken out.
So they get to take their money with no consultation, but we don't get to take ours?
At a time when many downtown businesses are struggling, she questions if the budget is realistic. The CCDA says they were blindsided by the letter, and they've been fielding messages ever since.
This was their mistake. This letter sent out was poorly done. It was poorly timed, and they dropped the ball, and they've got to answer for that.
In response, the City of Medicine Hat admits they made a mistake.
No, I think it's fair to say that business owners did not receive enough time to review the changes to the budget. So there were some changes made, which is one reason for the delay in the normal process. Normally this would have gone out, I think, in around November.
Council will be discussing the 2021 CCDA budget and whether or not to grant an extension at tonight's council meeting. Tiffany Goodwin, Chat News.
A municipal election will be held in Medicine Hat later this year. Any resident interested in running as a candidate for mayor, councillor, or school board trustee are being invited to learn more. Nomination packages are now available for download on the city's website. The city says the website and nomination packages contain important information for those wanting to get their campaigns underway. Candidates must be nominated before incurring any expenses or accepting contributions, including in-kind contributions. Recent changes to the Local Election Act mean the nomination period has been extended from the beginning of the year until September 20th. The change gives candidates time to file nomination papers and organize their campaigns. An Alberta healthcare worker has died from COVID-19. Health Minister Tyler Shandro issued a statement late this afternoon to offer his condolences. Shandro says the tragedy of this loss will be felt across the system, adding, "Their service will not be forgotten." No information about the individual, including where they work, has been released. Across the province, there are 1,128 new cases of COVID-19 today. There are now 905 Albertans in hospital, 136 in the ICU. The province completed 11,963 tests in the past 24 hours. The provincial positivity rate is now 9.4%. More details from the province on today's numbers can be found at chatnewstoday.ca. Medicine Hat police are asking for your help to identify a person of interest in connection to a structure fire last month. At this time, police are treating the investigation as arson, and members of the Major Crimes Section are investigating. The person of interest, who you can see here in the surveillance footage photo, city police and firefighters responded to a structure fire in the 2100 block of 7th Avenue Northeast on December 12th, just before 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The fire was contained within a detached garage and no one was injured. Contact Medicine Hat Police or Crime Stoppers if you have information that could assist in identifying this person or in the investigation. Before we head to break tonight, the Medicine Hat Police Service held a small ceremony this morning as Mike Warden was sworn in as the new Chief of Police. Warden replaces Chief Andy McGrogan, who retired on New Year's Eve after serving the community for over 40 years. Due to current health orders, the ceremony was limited in attendance. However, it is anticipated that a public event will be held once the restrictions are lifted. Chief Warden was selected by the Medicine Hat Police Commission after an extensive national search, which yielded several highly qualified candidates. Prior to his appointment, Warden served as a member of the Calgary Police Service. Chief Warden says he looks forward to engaging with members of the service and the community over the coming months as he settles into his new role. Chief, welcome. Time for that break now here on Chat News at 5. We're back in just a few minutes with this story and the AccuWeather forecast. Coming up, the story of a Medicine Hat teenager battling a rare condition and cancer, whose life has been made a lot brighter. Public reaction to news that at least 9 Alberta UCP MLAs and staffers left Canada have been strong. Premier Jason Kenney has asked some of those politicians to resign and accepted the resignations of others. However, it's not just provincial politicians who've traveled outside Canada during the pandemic. The federal Liberals say 2 of their MPs went to the U.S. over the winter break to visit relatives. A new Democrat and Conservative MP also traveled to the U.S. The fallout from their travels coming up in about 15 minutes here on Chat News at 5. A teenager in Medicine Hat has been battling a rare condition and cancer for years, but now her life has been made a lot brighter. Here's Tiffany Goodwin with her story.
A walk with her new pup, and it's a new milestone for 15-year-old Natika Brodest. Natika is cancer-free.
Excited. happy. I feel free from it because I don't die when I'm older.
Having that threat looming over you and gone. It's a fantastic feeling. It's elating.
Natika had been with FAP, a rare condition where a person develops numerous precancerous polyps in the colon and rectum. 2 years ago, Natika was diagnosed with colon cancer. FAP is hereditary, but her parents say Natika is the only one with the condition. She was also diagnosed with autism and global delay.
Generally, families can kind of bond together over an experience like this, and she's been on her own through this whole process of it. That's difficult as a parent to watch.
Natika underwent surgeries to remove her colon and rectum to rebuild a new system out of her small intestine. And through everything, her family says she has always remained a fighter.
She shows a strength like no other. She'll be, she was told she'll never ride a bike. She rides a bike like Tony Hawk. He's a skateboarder, isn't he? Like Matt Hoffman. She rides a bike like Matt Hoffman, and she scooters, she toboggans, she does things that people would have said, well, she won't be able to do this because she's not she's not neurotypical.
And it was that fighting spirit that led Natika to once again defy the odds. After surgery, she recovered much faster than expected and required little to no pain relief.
The pain specialist, he couldn't quite believe it. He came back 2 days in a row to check and to double check, and like he said, we'll be rewriting the books with this one.
Natika's strength has been an inspiration to her older sister. She named her newborn baby after Natika with the hopes she'll have some of her aunt's courage as she grows up.
I love her very much because she's kind of special.
A special gesture for a girl who proves strength comes at all ages.
I'm everybody's hero.
Tiffany Goodwin, Chat News.
Chat Weather, brought to you by Design Flooring Center, with you every step of the way.
Chat Weather, powered by AccuWeather.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous Monday out there, and it wasn't a bad weekend at all with the strong winds. Winds we'll have to deal with, but once again, temperatures just fantastic. That might change in a couple of weeks as some Arctic air starts to finally sink further into the prairies. But for now, we've got nothing but great days and plenty of sunshine. Although we were supposed to get some cloud today and we didn't. So maybe with the mix of sun and cloud expected over the next few days, we won't get that. There is a chance of some precipitation this week after all. It's not going to be all sun. But how about this? Normally -6. Today we got up to 6 degrees. I love that. I love being that high above seasonal averages. Still 4 out there, so if you've got a great walk planned for tonight to get some exercise in, should be a great evening under a partly cloudy sky. The winds have picked up a little bit since our first weather. It's now about 20 kilometers an hour, and tomorrow we'll see some gusts starting off the day that could be as strong as 60 kilometers an hour, but then they should dissipate in the afternoon, and they stay all across the province. -1 in Edmonton at this hour, -3 in Drumheller, 0s in Calgary, Brooks. There are 2 different cities, Calgary and Brooks. I said it too close together. Calgary and Brooks, there we go. Lethbridge, 4 degrees, and Bow Island, 1. Lots of cloud out there tonight, but partly cloudy the closer you get to us here in southern Alberta. In Saskatchewan, -6 and clear in both Regina and Saskatoon. Swift Current, -4. It's -6 and cloudy in Leader and in Maple Creek, 1 degree. Some cloud out there. Not a lot of precipitation to really look at. The radar starting to look pretty clear. And as we go into the futurecast now, we're watching this stuff here. We're watching this stuff here. So once it starts to move, which it's not going to do right now, once this stuff starts to move, it's going to start to spread across the country, okay? As it does and as it will do. And once it has the potential then Wednesday into Thursday to leave some of that wet stuff on us. Now, Wednesday night, chance of some precipitation. On Thursday, temperature is going to be so comfortable that the precipitation is likely to be rain and maybe some wet snow. But again, no huge accumulation. When we're looking at temperatures over the course of the next couple of weeks, no freezing cold, horrible days, which it was almost at this time last year. Remember those? Nope. We're heading into this year like a lamb. And if that was something, I'd say Tough on you, Lion, but it isn't something. That's March. All right, here's your Tuesday in Brooks from 6 to 6. Cloudy in the morning, mostly clear at night. Sunshine in between, -1 your daytime high. Lots of sunshine in Leader, -1 for you as well. 4 degrees in Maple Creek tomorrow under a mainly sunny sky, and here in Medicine Hat, 4 degrees. There will be some cloud in the morning, and it'll be mostly clear in the night. 4 degrees tomorrow. So there'll be lots of opportunities, as many of you have done over the long weekend, sending in all of those pictures from your New Year's experiences. I really appreciate them. We're going to try to catch up over the next couple of days. Just back tonight doing pictures again, including this photo from yesterday. Alexis sent this one in from Eckodale, and I really like this one. There's winter there. You see the sky is a little bit mixed up, and love this picture. Love this picture. Put the show on pause right now and lean in and take a look at this picture. Alexis, thank you very much. Weather pics at chatnewstoday.ca. That's weather pics at chatnewstoday.ca. Please, again, don't send us your pictures on our Facebook page. Send them to weatherpics at chatnewstoday.ca. Alexis, thank you again. That is our weather forecast for tonight. We're back with more news, and Scott Roblin is back from vacation with sports still to come here on Chat News at 5. It's not just provincial politicians who've traveled outside Canada during the pandemic. Still to come, the federal fallout. Good Monday evening. I'm Dan Reynish. This is Chat News at 5. 2 teens accused of killing a Calgary police officer on New Year's Eve were in court again this morning. 19-year-old Amir Abdulrahman and a 17-year-old boy are charged with first-degree murder in the death of 37-year-old Sergeant Andrew Harnett. They both made their first court appearance Saturday after turning themselves into police. Police say the 37-year-old officer was struck and dragged by an SUV he pulled over on a routine traffic stop on New Year's Eve. The lawyer representing Amir Abdulrahman says the matter is being put over until February in order to gather documents for the case. Public reaction to news that at least 9 Alberta UCP MLAs and staffers have left Canada has been strong. Premier Jason Kenney has asked some of those politicians to resign and accepted the resignations of others. However, it's not just provincial politicians who traveled outside of Canada during the pandemic. The federal Liberals have 2 MPs who went to the U.S. to visit relatives. A New Democrat and at least 1 Conservative MP also traveled to the U.S. David Akin has been tracking the fallout as it's coming to light. Another Conservative MP and Senator were out of the country. David.
Case is Don Plett, and Senator Plett is the Conservative leader in the Senate. He went to Mexico on December 28th, then thought better of it, turned around and came back on the 31st. He's now quarantining at his home in south of Winnipeg. But we also learned that a Conservative MP from Ontario, David Sweet, also traveled to the U.S. and, like his caucus mate Ron Leipert, Sweet left to attend to a property issue, but then he stayed on to holiday, and he did that without notifying his party. And so as a result, Sweet, like the 2 Liberal MPs and the NDP MP, has lost some of his parliamentary duties. In Sweet's case, he has resigned as chair of the House of Commons Ethics Committee. Now, we're learning about these because the leaders' offices from all parties here in Ottawa have, in the last few days, put the word out that any MP who left the country should step forward and step forward now. Now, all the parties, Liberals, Conservatives, New Democrats, and the Bloc Québécois, now say that they are confident that it is just this group of 5 MPs that left Canada in December. Senators, they're a bit of another matter because party leaders have less control over them. And for the record, both Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Opposition Leader Erin O'Toole spent the holidays with their families at their official residences right here in the national capital. And the PMO says no cabinet minister has left the country since March, with the exception of the Foreign Affairs Minister, who did leave Canada, but only on official government business. Now, in the meantime, dozens of MPs are proactively disclosing that they did not travel. In fact, some tell me they have been responding to calls from constituents wanting to know what they did for Christmas and where they were.
Faced with a surge in COVID-19 cases, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced another lockdown in England, similar to the one back in March. People can only leave home for essential reasons, and all schools are closed. The country's National Health Service could be overwhelmed within 3 weeks. Redmond Shannon reports.
A bright start to the day in the UK. The cheaper and easy-to-store Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine in use for the first time anywhere.
Well done.
But the reality of the pandemic here remains.
I do want to stress for everybody the efforts that we're making as a government to try to keep primary schools open.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson is battling a crisis and the more contagious UK virus variant that experts say is out of control.
The virus is just going to get a tighter and tighter grip on communities right across the country. And vaccination is not going to come quick enough to help us.
The country's chief medical officers demanded immediate action.
I am more concerned about the situation we face now than I have been at any time since March last year.
Scotland's First Minister imposed a legally enforceable stay-at-home order for January, coming on a day when one of her own MPs was arrested for using public transit while she was knowingly infected with COVID-19. By evening, the Prime Minister issued similar orders for people in England.
We must therefore go into a national lockdown.
Already rolling back on his morning optimism when it comes to education.
Primary schools, secondary schools and colleges across England must move to remote provision from tomorrow.
Suddenly, it feels like March 2020 again. Johnson hinted that this lockdown is expected to last well into February or even March 2021, pending a very rapid vaccine rollout.
I know how frustrated you are, and I know that you've had more than enough of government guidance about defeating this virus.
As for the rest of the UK, Wales had already issued a stay-at-home order since Christmas. Northern Ireland is now looking to do something similar. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
The city of Long Beach, California is reopening a historic hospital to help other medical facilities deal with COVID cases in that state. The move comes as many hospitals are being overrun by a surge in patients. Joy Benedict has more.
There wasn't much activity yet as a few workers trickled into the oldest hospital in Long Beach.
That people feel very attached to this place. People that are born here call themselves originals.
Many in this neighborhood have a story of birth or healing from Community Hospital, which has been a staple here since 1924. Matthew Faulkner is the executive director of the Hospital Foundation.
We need this hospital on the east side. We need this emergency room. We need the acute care. It's a really big day to get this done. A lot of heavy lifting by a lot of people.
The hospital is owned by the city, but the building was shuttered in 2018 when its previous operators thought it would be too expensive to modernize. The city got involved, and now under new management with $6 million in renovations, the old building is ready to heal again.
To date, we've brought in over 130 individuals, many of which were former employees of the hospital before it closed.
Brandon Dowling is the spokesperson for the new facility. He says the hospital will start receiving patients today. They are approved for 11 ICU beds and 40 other beds, giving a small but mighty boost to the strapped hospital system in Los Angeles County.
With ICU bed capacity near zero and the region's health system being pummeled by COVID-19, we're happy to serve in this critical time to ensure that we can continue to offer the utmost quality of patient care.
Although they won't be taking walk-ins or treating COVID patients right now, doctors and nurses here will be handling transfers from other hospitals and nursing facilities, breathing new life into an old building, and hopefully those in need.
We absolutely need this. It's vital. It's a vital resource.
Donald Trump's last-ditch effort to overturn the U.S. election has veered into dangerous new territory. Over the weekend, he phoned election officials in Georgia and told them to find the votes he needs to win the state. All of this tees up a tense week in Washington as lawmakers meet to certify Joe Biden's win. Jackson Prosco reports.
This is all easily, provably false. Yet the president persists.
Officials in Georgia are at wit's end, once again forced to defend the integrity of the election after repeated baseless attacks by the president and his allies.
They're making wild claims that, again, undermine people's faith in the system.
On Saturday, the Secretary of State got an earful during a phone call from an angry President Trump who pressured him to overturn Joe Biden's victory in the state.
I just want to find 11,780 votes which is one more that we have, because we won the state, and flipping the state is a great testament to our country.
The call is remarkable not just for its seeming abuse of power or disregard for democracy, but because it shows the president's genuine belief in debunked internet conspiracy theories about voter fraud.
I won this election by hundreds of thousands of votes. There's no way I lost Georgia. There's no way.
The data that he has is just plain wrong. He had hundreds and hundreds of people he said that were dead that voted. We found 2.
To date, none of the voter fraud claims have held up.
We've seen in the last 2 months unprecedented allegations of voter fraud.
That hasn't stopped Trump's Republican enablers from pushing the theories anyway. On Wednesday, at least a dozen Republican senators and more than 140 members of the House will use that as a pretext to object to President-elect Joe Biden's win during the count of the Electoral College votes.
And I promise you, come this Wednesday, we'll have our day in Congress. We'll hear the objections. We'll hear the evidence.
Even Trump loyalists have warned it's a risky strategy that could divide the party and undermine democracy. Election officials in Georgia have already warned all those false claims of voter fraud risk turning off Republican voters ahead of Tuesday's Senate runoff elections in the state. The pressure campaign may also be legally risky for Trump. Democrats have sent a criminal referral to the FBI, while back in Georgia, state officials have not ruled out a criminal probe into whether Trump broke the law by demanding an election result that simply doesn't exist.
Straight ahead here on Chat News at 5, Scott Roblin is back, and he'll have all the sports news for you. Stay with us.
With training camps opening across the NHL today, the Calgary Flames reveal their first ever helmet sponsorship. More on their partnership next in sports. Welcome back. One of hockey's biggest rivalries is being reignited tonight with a shot at a gold medal on the line at the World Juniors in Edmonton. And it's a matchup that shouldn't come as a surprise to players on either side.
With him, and McMichael beats his man Long and deposits that in the empty net.
Team Canada is on the ice against Team Russia, meeting in the first of 2 semifinal games today. Canada is coming off a 3-0 shutout victory against the Czech Republic in the quarterfinals on Saturday, running their record in the tournament to a perfect 5-0. Of course, this is a rematch of last year's gold medal thriller, which featured a late Canada comeback. Jamie Drysdale was on that team and expects the Russians to have a long memory.
Obviously, we want to maintain, where we're at, and we want to obviously come out on top. But, in saying that, they're going to feel like they're going to have something to prove because we came out on top last year. So, I think it'll be a really good game on both ends. And, I think everyone's looking forward to playing in that game. It should be a really exciting, hard-fought game.
And Canada is well on their way, leading by a 4-0 score through 40 minutes. Alex Newhook, Connor McMichael, Cole Perfetti, and Braden Schneider all scoring so far for the Canadians. The winner of Team Canada and Team Russia will take on the winner of Team USA against Team Finland in the gold medal game. That semifinal will go at 7:30 tonight. It's rare that the opening of NHL training camps has received this much attention, but hockey fans, they're hungry for games to return. There might not be as many games in 2021, but Canada's 7 teams will get more than acquainted with their new North Division opponents. Mike Armstrong has more on how teams are preparing for puck drop in just over a week's time.
It's not lost on the players what their return to the ice means. For sports fans living in a pandemic, the NHL is a welcome distraction. The players feel the same way.
I know for me, watching NFL games and having things like that to look forward to sometimes takes you out of the reality of the world we're living in.
There won't be much regular about this regular season. First of all, it comes without a preseason. The first game the teams will play,
we don't have time to waste,
will count in the standings.
Every day, every drill is important. It's designed for something, and our focus has to be there right from the start of today, right till game 1.
Now, there won't be a bubble this season. Teams will be playing home games at home. But the NHL has divided the league into 4 new divisions, and the Canadian teams will only play each other. That means the Montreal Canadiens, for example, will play the Vancouver Canucks more times this season than they have in the last 5 combined.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting for everybody. Obviously, playing the same teams over and over, it's going to get heated at some point.
Where teams usually have the chance to cool down after a tough game, this year they're likely to go right back at it. To cut down on travel and the possibility of spreading the virus between teams, the league's borrowed from baseball. They're going to be playing multiple games against the same team. At one point, Montreal plays Ottawa 4 straight. Despite that, the new configuration does mean extra strain for the Canadian teams.
We're in the division that travels the most of all the divisions in this league this year. We're going from one end of the country to the other.
3rd down and 6.
The NFL wrapped up its regular season Sunday. There were hiccups, but they did get through without any cancellations. That bodes well for the NHL.
Every sport is taking best practices from the other sports, and it's good to see that the commissioners are all talking to each other, sharing that intel.
Now, ratings were weak for last year's NHL playoffs. Playoff hockey in August was perhaps not a natural sell. The hope is if this season wraps up as scheduled, next season could start at the normal time of the year, the fall, possibly post-pandemic. Hopefully. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.
Good news for the Vancouver Canucks, who have received the green light from the BC government to play home games at Rogers Arena. Premier John Horgan confirming over Twitter that the Canucks will be able to play games in Vancouver under enhanced health measures, but those are still unclear. British Columbia is the second province to officially clear the return of NHL hockey to empty arenas, joining Alberta in approving the Flames and the Oilers. However, the league and the Players Association say they're not worried about approvals being denied in other Canadian provinces. As for the Flames, they released these photos today showcasing the team's new helmet sponsor, Scotiabank. All 31 teams across the NHL will be sporting helmet logos starting this season as the league looks to make up lost revenue as a result of the pandemic. Reaction to the decals has been mixed throughout the NHL. However, most on Flames Twitter anyways say that the logo fits the style of the team's rebrand. Scotiabank is also the title sponsor of the Saddle Dome and are the helmet sponsor of the Toronto Maple Leafs too, while Rogers, Bell, Ford, and Bridgestone are some of the other companies NHL fans will be seeing on helmets when the league returns on January 13th. A big day for the Medicine Hat College Rattlers program as well, adding 3 new faces for next year. Local Rowan Prudhomme, Cranbrook BC's Kenzie Fulton, and Moose Jaw's Molly Morris have committed to the Rattlers for the 2021 season. Prudhomme previously suited up for the top-level Rask soccer program in our city, while Fulton is a graduate of the Vancouver Whitecaps Academy, and Morris from the Moose Jaw FC girls program. There is still hope that soccer, as well as other fall sports like golf and cross-country running that were postponed by the ACAC, can still be played sometime this spring. So hoping for the best that we're going to see some soccer coming up in the spring. Of course, those commits more for next season, but still hopeful to see the Rattlers program growing.
Scott Romlin is back. Happy New Year, buddy.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
So if Canada doesn't roll all the way to a gold medal this tournament, it's got to be looked at as a waste of time.
Well, I don't know about that. The one interesting thing for this Canada-Russia game, it's 4-0. Russia actually had a goal disallowed not too long ago on a power play late in the period. But the last number of games between Canada and Russia, we've seen some crazy comebacks. 4-0 isn't out of the woods quite yet. So I'd say it's pretty good for Team Canada. The craziest thing, though, we are 5 games and 2 periods into this tournament for Team Canada, have still yet to allow a goal at 5-on-5. Pretty incredible.
That's pretty incredible, but that also makes the tournament kind of boring. Have you been enjoying the tournament and the 18-0 and 13-3 games that you've been watching?
Well, you know what? We haven't seen so many of those 18-0 and 13-2 games. I have enjoyed even Finland-Sweden the other day, one that came down to the wire with Finland winning. USA has looked very tough, so that's going to be a great semifinal game tonight. I think whoever advances out of the semifinals, it's going to be a real solid gold medal game.
The only thing I know about this tournament is which teams Chris Marfleet wants to see win because his New Jersey Devils have draft picks on them. So, Chris, thanks for keeping me interested. Scott, welcome back. Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too.
We'll be right back. You're watching Chat News at 5. Recapping today's top stories, there is anger, sadness, and frustration right across the province tonight Public outrage over out-of-country travel during the holidays by at least 9 UCP MLAs and staffers has been fierce. Premier Jason Kenney hasn't spoken publicly about the controversy since Friday, but through a statement released on social media today, he announced 6 MLAs have either resigned from or lost their ministerial or cabinet committee roles. The Premier's chief of staff was asked to step down, which he has also done. The statement partially reads, quote, "By traveling abroad over the holidays, these individuals demonstrated extremely poor judgment." As word of the resignations came out, Albertans were sharing their frustrations at a news conference arranged by the opposition NDP. One mother spoke how her child's December wish trip was cancelled due to the pandemic. There was a heartbreaking story also about a grandfather begging to be taken from the nursing home because he was so lonely, while another woman was angry her loved one had to die alone. The NDP's Janice Irwin said the resignations today are not enough, adding they should have had the moral judgment not to have traveled in the first place. For more on these and other stories, as well as the Premier's entire statement, visit our website at chatnewstoday.ca. Wooden grain elevators are the original skyscrapers of the prairie provinces. They once dotted the landscape, but the vast majority of these classic elevators have come down over the past few decades. Hoping to save a part of their history, residents in Sexsmith have banded together. Here's Tom Vernon with their story.
This night, nearly 5 years ago, is burned into the memory of Florence Blaze.
When the elevator burnt down, it was really sad.
One of 2 remaining historic grain elevators in Sexsmith was destroyed. For Florence, this wasn't just an old building burning down. It was much more personal than that.
I sat with my grandson on the tailgate of my truck talking about the elevator and how his mom used to go with my dad and sit in the elevator, have coffee.
For decades, grain elevators were the center of activity in the town. Sexsmith once had 9, but most of them have come down over the years. The fire meant only one was left, and its future was uncertain.
There was no way I wanted to see it go down because it is the last leg of history to the past around here.
Saving it was no easy task. The restoration bill reaches into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the town simply didn't have that kind of money. But the fire sparked a renewed push in the community. A surge in fundraising and support from the province and local governments meant the roof could be repaired and a new coat of paint could be put on. And just a few weeks ago, the Sexsmith grain elevator received historic designation from Alberta Culture, meaning it is now protected. This is what it looks like today.
Elevator looks absolutely beautiful. The excitement around the area and the town and positive comments has been overwhelming.
The next step is to turn the elevator into a museum, and the town has a story to tell.
And between 1939 and 1947, Sexsmith led all inland terminals in Canada and the British Empire for the production and export of grain.
Historian David Leonard says the story of agriculture, of course, isn't unique to the Peace Country. Mass colonization of the West was based on farming, and while they're dwindling in numbers, the old prairie giants played a key role in building Alberta.
All throughout Western Canada, wherever there's large-scale settlement, there was an elevator.
In Sexsmith, the elevator will stay standing thanks to the tireless efforts of local volunteers determined to preserve the town's history.
There's a lot of volunteer hours put in, but it's very rewarding to listen to the stories.
Tom Vernon, Global News.
We're heading toward a bittersweet finale this week for a beloved game show host.
The host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
The final episodes of Jeopardy, hosted by the late Alex Trebek, will air this week. The Canadian Trebek welcomed contestants over the span of 36 years, and that's 8,200 episodes. He passed away after a battle with pancreatic cancer in November at the age of 80. He will be missed. Let's go to our 7-day forecast now and some temperatures that we're in January, people. 5 degrees tomorrow, 7 degrees on Wednesday. There will be winds to deal with. Now, Thursday, there's the chance of some precipitation, and we could see a little bit more clouds Wednesday into the afternoon. Not a lot of precipitation, some snow, some wet snow on Thursday, but then Friday, the sun comes back, and we're heading into a weekend that is going to continue to see us enjoy the sunshine. And with temperatures near 1, 2, and 3 degrees, the winds at this point don't look that strong right now. So another great week for us here in Medicine Hat, and thank you for choosing Chat on this Monday night. Hope you had a great holiday season. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. I meant to say one and all. I'm not wishing you happy holidays anymore. No holidays now till the 15th of February. We'll make it. We'll get through it together. Thanks again for choosing Chat. We're back tomorrow at noon and 5. Take care.